So while everybody was on their 6th slice of Thanksgiving pie, Trump dropped probably the most Trump tweet of all time, and he actually posted it on X. And I mean, you just know it's serious when it actually goes straight onto X rather than just being a screenshot from Truth Social is all I'm saying. And it makes sense because this might be one of his greatest and most important tweets yet, in which he calls Tim Walz a retard, he talks about Ilhan Omar marrying her brother, and then says that he is ending all immigration from third world countries. Just take a look. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the US system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. I mean, that is a mic drop post if I've ever heard one. And after a few hard weeks for MAGA, I would say this post alone just completely reignited the base. Mostly Peaceful Meme said, permanent pause of all immigration from third world countries. Just when I thought he was out, he pulls me back in. Of course, this is, hilarious peak Trump moment, the digs that he's making at the other politicians, but the events that inspired this post are a serious reflection of a crisis that we are facing in this country every single day. Unchecked migration and unchecked violence. Now, before we get into that and the events that transpired this past weekend, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and go to brettcooper.com and check out our subscription platform, Cooper Confidential, for more behind the scenes, farm vlogs, and all of that sort of thing. And of course, if you want to stay notified on every single episode that we upload, make sure to ring that notification bell on YouTube. So the reason why Trump is posting about reverse migration and ending all illegal immigration from third world countries is because 2 National Guard members were ambushed and shot in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. Andrew Wolf and Sarah Beckstrom. They are 24 and 20 years old, respectively. And as of the filming of this episode on Friday afternoon, Andrew Wolf is in critical condition, but he is still fighting for his life. But unfortunately, Sarah passed away on Thanksgiving evening. Now, obviously, we have to ask, who is the absolute monster who ambushed and targeted these service members? Well, he's an Afghan refugee and militant who worked with the CIA, by the way, and came here under asylum after the Taliban took over in 2021, as Kristi Noem mentioned here in this tweet that she posted after the shooting. Now, what she did fail to mention in this tweet is that the Trump administration then granted this man further asylum in 2025 while his green card status was on hold. And I think that that is important to note and remember as Trump and his team respond to this tragedy. But this man, this refugee, he is not the only one who came over, because under Biden and his absolutely disgusting, disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, we brought in almost 80,000 Afghan refugees. As you can see right here, we'll put it up on the screen. And at the time, back in 2021, we were told that all of these individuals were completely vetted. They were totally safe. We should be honored to have them coming into our country. And obviously, that was not the case. In fact, 4 years ago, Tucker and JD Vance were even calling this out. This is a post on X from JD. We're not vetting Afghan refugees properly, and we need to stop bringing in tens of thousands into our country. Anybody who tells you otherwise is full of it. And then he posts a clip from Tucker's Fox show where he talks about the lack of vetting that was actually happening. And 4 years ago, when those two men discussed this, they were called racists. They were called bigots. How could they not want to open their arms up to these tens of thousands of refugees? Sounds just like how today we are also called racist for saying maybe, possibly, we don't want migrants in this country who scream death to America. Just watch.
الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا!
And that right now is the current state of Dearborn, Michigan. So I think it is safe to say that both illegal and legal immigration are absolutely, in fact, overrunning our country. And I am completely in support of this reverse migration that Trump is talking about. And you know what? These people can make their travels home just that much easier with a Noble all-in-one carry-on. And guys, this luggage will help you too, because just imagine you are sprinting through the airport, your iced coffee is sloshing everywhere, your phone is at 3% like mine always is, TSA is side-eyeing you because your laptop is buried, and then you look at your normal luggage, well, it is a useless box of wheels in those situations. But now, if you have the Noble all-in-one carry-on, your world just changed. The flip-out cup holder saves your drink, the built-in charger, oh my god, I need that, it saves your sanity, the front laptop pocket saves your dignity in the TSA line, it has 360-degree wheels that actually glide, and no zipper at all. It actually latches shut so that thieves can't pen trick it open. It will be the hottest looking suitcase on the plane. The company Noble is #1 rated on Trustpilot, they have a lifetime warranty, and 100-day returns. And right now, their biggest sale ever is live, up to 58% off everything. So if you're ready to take your travel to the next level, just visit nobletravel.com. That is N-O-B-L travel.com. And when they ask where you heard about them, say that Brett Cooper sent you, and do it before they sell out during this Christmas season. Now, back to the story. Again, they can go home, they can leave. But the thing is, this is not the only thing that is harming and killing innocent Americans. However, most of that can be tied back to two big issues. Number one, toxic empathy, and number two, violent rhetoric. Now, toxic empathy, you guys have heard me talk about this a lot. It is a term that Allie Beth Stuckey wrote an entire book about. She coined the term, and it argues that when politics is driven by empathy alone, innocent people then have to pay the price. You know, we have to be inclusive, we have to be empathetic, and let millions of unchecked refugees into our country, even if they shoot American servicemen and women. It's still empathetic. We must do it. And no, I'm not exaggerating, because this is in fact what a Democrat representative said on air just a couple of days ago.
And this country has become the greatest nation in the history of the world in large measure because individuals come here and they build better lives for themselves and their families. We need to continue to do that. It's what makes us so strong and so vital. And we should not paint with a broad brush. That's not who we are as a country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If people are coming here illegally, let's not paint them as criminals. If people are coming here as refugees and then turning around and shooting American servicemen, let's not paint them as a broad brush. We need to continue welcoming them to our country. Absolutely the hell not. And that right there was a Democrat representative. But the thing is, it's not just the Democrats. In fact, a Republican congressional candidate in Kentucky just said this after the shooting took place in Washington, D.C.
I mean, we have failed in our obligation to help many of these Afghans who risked their lives and in many cases died for the cause of their own country in assistance to the United States. And we owe them to help them get into our country with these visas and the P1 and P2 visas.
We owe them to help get them into this country. We have an obligation to these people. I'm sorry, no, we don't. Now, before we talk about my thoughts on that, I just want to play this clip because, guys, Lindsey Graham, of course, was on the wrong side of history 4 years ago as well.
We're going to get this done. This is the right thing to do. There's no other ending that is acceptable to me. The people who were there with us in the fight that are here in America need to stay. This will be their new home. So we have a moral obligation to these people.
A moral obligation. Okay, now here's the thing. Like, I understand feeling guilty or empathetic to the Afghans, especially if you share my feeling that we should not have been there fighting anyway, that we left it actually worse than it was before. But that does not mean that two wrongs make a right. That does not mean that we just then bring in tens of thousands of refugees from every country we decide to meddle with. That it should not work that way. We shouldn't get involved in the first place, but there has to be a better solution. At the very least, these people actually have to be vetted, which we know was not happening. Anyway, back to that point, this is actually something that Charlie Kirk spoke about back in 2021. He tweeted this. He said, "Invade the world, invite the world. This is the bipartisan bargain that has been ruling DC for decades. We should accept 0 Afghan refugees into America. Why are Republicans encouraging this mass resettlement into their states? Whose interests are they representing? Certainly not Americans. Certainly not the servicemen that were just shot in Washington, D.C. Again, this is just a perfect example of toxic empathy. Another example is that, it doesn't matter if a criminal has 10 plus priors. We should go ahead and release him out onto the streets because I'm sure it'll be better next time, and we just want to be nice, even if that individual has 72 prior arrests. Guys, that's just the empathetic thing to do. That is the right thing to do. And yes, I'm not exaggerating. That is a real situation. A man with 72 prior arrests just set a woman on fire on a train. She is now fighting for her life in the hospital where 60% of her body is burnt. But if you all remember the story of Irina Zarutska, the man who stabbed her on that train had 14 priors. I mean, going back to the National Guard being in DC in the first place, these right here, these are the types of stories that drove Trump to deploy them in these select US cities. And that now brings us to the second point of today's episode, the violent rhetoric that is most of the time coming from the left. Because how did people, specifically Democrats, respond to Trump deploying these troops? Well, some said that what Trump was doing was actually illegal, and they urged servicemen to not obey his orders.
What do you think, as a lawyer, what do you think the consequences should be for people who are abiding by following these steps from the commander-in-chief when they seem to be complete overreaches of power.
What should the consequences be for servicemen and women simply following orders, doing what the president has asked them to? There should be consequences for doing this. Like, is Jen Psaki out of her mind? I would love to say that that was an isolated comment, an isolated incident, but no, because they went further. They then encouraged violence, like Don Lemon did here.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
So in this clip, Don Lemon is literally saying, take up your arms and have it ready to fire against federal troops. That is what he is arguing here. But again, that is not all. One senator said that the National Guard was going to start shooting civilians. CNN called the National Guard troops Nazis. So there you have it. It is incredibly violent rhetoric under the guise of this toxic empathy. I mean, it would be nice if they had that much empathy for, say, the unborn babies, which is what the people at Preborn actually do have. And as the left doubles down on abortion, it is time for us to double down on life. Through our partnership with Preborn, we can help save babies and support mothers in need. Every day, Preborn's clinics rescue hundreds of babies because when a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears that tiny heartbeat, her chance of choosing life doubles. It is truly a transformative experience. And now, thanks to a generous match at the organization, your gift to Preborn will be doubled too. That means twice as many ultrasounds, twice as many lives saved, and twice as many mothers given hope with diapers, car seats, counseling, and care for up to 2 years after they deliver. And maybe you've heard about Preborn before and not taken action. Well, now is the time. I've been working with Preborn for years now. I fully endorse their work because I know them personally. They're great people. They do incredible things, and their work is so important to help heal our country. And one ultrasound is just $28. And again, right now, that will be matched. Just go to preborn.com/Brett to give. Again, that is preborn.com/Brett. And if you know a new mom, then I'm telling you she needs some tallow from Amallo. Guys, this is the perfect product and perfect gift to help her crush the weird postpartum skin issues. I would know, I've been dealing with it, and it is safe enough for her to use on her baby. And I know tallow sounds unusual, but the results speak for themselves. And apparently, a ton of you guys agree, because everyone who tries it gets obsessed. Tallow is literally just rendered beef fat packed with the same fatty acids and nutrients that your skin naturally uses. It absorbs, hydrates, and helps your skin stay balanced without all of the unnecessary ingredients that are usually found in most synthetic moisturizers. And out of all of the many tallow brands out there now, Amallo is the one that I still love and trust. It is a small family-owned business based here in the USA. They use grass-fed, grass-finished tallow and organic essential oils. It is clean, minimal, and small batch, just the good stuff that your skin actually wants. It works for men, women, babies, you name it, you will love it. And if you've been curious, now is the time to try it because Amallo is running a massive Black Friday sale and a special holiday bundle. So to check them out, just visit amallo.com/Cooper and use code Cooper25 for 25% off through December 1st. Again, that is Amallo, AMALLOW.com/Cooper. Use code Cooper25 for 25% off through December 1st. Now back to the story at hand. Now that you've seen those tweets, you've watched those clips, I mean, no wonder an angry, unstable man was moved to literally drive across the country from his home in Washington State to Washington, D.C. to ambush National Guardsmen. But again, guys, we're still not done with the story because in response to this tragedy, in response to one National Guardsman now being dead, the second still fighting for his life, Democrats were not quick to condemn the violence and say how awful this was. No, they immediately jumped in to blaming Trump and saying that actually all of this awful tragedy is his fault because he put the National Guard in cities like D.C. in the first place. I'm not kidding. Just watch this clip.
Of two people fighting for their lives, guardsmen, that this president put there. And as I said, I was one that was very vocal against that.
Why wasn't the president's first thought, wow, maybe I should reconsider deploying military troops in the nation's capital or in any city, particularly not when they haven't coordinated closely with the leadership of these cities.
So the point that you're really wanting to make here in the wake of this tragedy is that Trump put them there, that he put them in harm's way, and that this wouldn't have happened if they weren't there. That was Al Sharpton on MSNBC. And like, in my mind, that comment, it's like telling a girl who got raped that she was wearing the wrong dress. It's like, oh, well, what was she wearing? Like, that is basically the same disgusting, asinine logic. Now, the more plausible answer and reasoning here is that the Democrats have continued to excuse and empower violence against servicemen and excuse and encourage violence just on a whole, and through their toxic empathy, both the left and the right, as you've seen in this episode, have helped overrun our country with refugees and migrants that do not assimilate and, quite frankly, hate it here. Now, mix that with a lack of law and order for our own criminals, and that is exactly how we have gotten to the point where we are today. And the unfortunate fact is that we as Americans do not know who is out there roaming our streets. And unfortunately, we cannot trust that the unstable, bad, murderous actors will actually be put away, or that our own politicians will not call for violence against Americans with dissenting views, or that they will not import people who want us dead. That's not just a problem on the left, that is both a left and a right problem. And we also can't just pause immigration from third world countries. Law and order must return and be respected, and remigration, yes, in fact, is necessary. Now, the last thing that I want to say here that I've been thinking about as I see all of these stories unfold, and this is just kind of like a tail in addition to this episode, is that we have become so incredibly desensitized to violence. I mean, if you're scrolling on X, if you're on TikTok, even on Instagram, Facebook, we are all seeing the most horrific things every single day. And it's been that way for years now, but it feels like it's just escalating every single week. From the hits on politicians, to what happened to Irina on the train, to the murder of Charlie Kirk, to now this, we see it all unfold in real time. And we are becoming so numb to it. And not just numb, but so many people then brush off all of these instances. Like, my mind goes to Candace and what she's doing right now. And I know there are people that do not like Candace, that don't trust what she's doing, but I want to talk about the fact that she believes there is a real threat against her life. And how do people respond? They mock her. When she just watched one of her closest friends get shot in the neck, when we all watched that, she then says, hey, I'm publicizing this because I don't want that to happen to me. I'm publicizing that there might be a hit on me. And people laugh at her and they mock her. I mean, did you forget that somebody was literally arrested by the feds earlier this year for attempting to assassinate her? She has had stalkers show up at her door, move to Tennessee to try and hurt her. This has happened not just to her, but to so many people on the political right. And just because you don't like what she's doing right now, you're laughing at her, you're mocking her. Like, that's just where we've gotten to. No, all of this is serious. All of this is disgusting. We cannot become numb to these types of events. It is not normal. This is not what America should be. And Trump has to take all of this seriously. His base is counting on him. Holiday dinners are great, unless you invite the wrong guest. You know the type. They say they're totally American raised, they promise, but something is obviously off. They show up uninvited. They don't really fit in. It's almost like they weren't even born here. And so I personally avoid mystery meat at all costs, especially at holiday dinners. I get actual American raised meat delivered from Good Ranchers, and right now you can get $100 off your first 3 orders when you use my code BRETT at checkout. It's $40 off your first order, $30 off your second, $30 off your third, totaling in $100, plus you'll get free meat for life when you subscribe. But hurry, because this offer only lasts until December 1st. And yeah, you can go.